Hello, welcome to Money Matters TV. I'm Mike Dever, founder of Brandywine Asset Management and host of today's show. My co-host is Wendy Eldridge. She's managing director of Marcum Wealth, and our guest today is Bill Dunkelberg, chief economist with NFIB, the National Federation of Independent Business. Well, hello, Wendy.
Hello.
I have a couple questions for you, but I want to start out first with you letting me know and telling our audience what is Marcum Wealth.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you for having me today.
Sure.
So, Marcum Wealth is a registered investment advisory firm that really focuses on two different practices. We help manage individuals' and financial planning needs and individual investment needs. And then the other side of our house handles retirement plan services. And I am really the partner in charge of those retirement plan services.
Oh, that's great. Okay, that's something we're real familiar with here at Brandywine. We've got a suite of CITs we present and offer for retirement plans.
Absolutely. And I am aware of those.
Okay, very good. So now, I guess the first question I have here, there's the Secure 2.0 Act. What is that?
It is two little small words, two little small words that pack a whole lot of stuff in it. And so the Secure 2.0 Act was passed by President Biden and signed on December 29th of 2022. It follows the heels of Secure Act 1.0 that was passed in December of 2019. However, the Secure 2.0 has over 90 provisions that can affect retirement plans, starting effective as we speak, and then within the next couple of years.
What are those provisions? How do they affect small businesses?
Yeah, and what I am so excited about with this new act is that it really is trying to focus on helping small businesses, specifically small businesses, to develop and implement retirement plans, but by also giving them some help or some tax credits in order to do that. And specifically, what the Secure 2.0 Act is going to be able to help small businesses do is that they are going to be able to give a tax credit up to 100% of administrative expenses, up to $5,000 for over 3 years to implement and run a 401k plan, which is amazing. Secure Act 1.0 had it at 50% of the expenses. Secure 2.0 took it up to 100%. In addition, what is also so nice is that they're giving a tax credit up to $1,000 per employee for an employer to give contributions to the plan. So not only for helping in administrative expenses, but also tax credits if a company has the funds to be able to give employer contributions to its employees.
Wow. I mean, that's great. Are there, I would think a lot of real small businesses don't even have a 401k plan. It was too cumbersome. They didn't understand how to put it together. So what size business should be looking at this, considering this?
You are exactly correct in that there is I think over a third of people in this country today who do not have access to any kind of a retirement plan. And we have to change that for our employees. In order for somebody to be on a path for a successful retirement, they have to have the ability to be able to put money away. And so a lot of these provisions, these newer provisions, are focusing on companies with less than 50 employees. And so this can be, a company that maybe has 1 or 2 employees, or actually a company that's been around that, has 20, 30, 40 employees, that we're really trying to focus in on to be able to give employees this mechanism to be able to put money away.
So even a 2-person firm, you would see that would be setting this up.
Absolutely. In fact, I will tell you, I just, for some reason, I have been getting in the market of social media influencers. And so we've got a handful of younger folks who are, making a lot of money on TikTok and on Instagram, and maybe only have 1 or 2 assistants or folks that help them with that are implementing 401k plans today in order for them to be able to put money away.
Oh, the TikTok influencer. That sounds like my oldest son's dream. That's his occupation. He wants to be able to work from anywhere and just make a lot of money spewing stuff on social media.
It's unbelievable the amount of money that people can make on this, but it is also so important that these younger folks understand what to do with this money that's coming in.
Are you seeing some of your clients coming in from that influencer business?
Well, what's very funny is my kids want to kill me. I actually do some TikTok videos specifically geared around retirement plans. And my daughter, who's 25 years old, all of her friends have always told me that they watch these videos and they actually get into their company's 401k plans because of the things that I say on here and that I make it a little bit easy. But my kids are mortified by this, let me tell you.
Well, you're an influencer now. I mean, they've got to just learn to accept that, I guess.
I guess so.
So do you help steer them in the design of the 401k plan? I mean, there's a lot of complexity. I mean, you have all these different fund choices you can put in there. You know, should you have an active fund, a passive fund, should be a target date fund? How do you help in this? You know, I see Secure 2.0. I mean, it's great. There's monetary help, but how do you then help with the design and structuring?
Well, Mike, you're pinpointing exactly one of the reasons that small businesses don't have these retirement plans because of the complexity of it. You know, when do I let people come in? Who's going to manage the investments? Who's going to talk to the employees about what they should be doing or how they should be doing it? Should they be doing pre-tax or should they be doing Roth? So, you know, that's really the complexity that comes in. And you want to make sure that you're working with some kind of an advisor to be able to answer a lot of those questions. And in fact, the Secure 2.0 Act specifically for those smaller size businesses, you know, for those companies who are going to be establishing 401k plans, very important to understand what some of these rules are going to be surrounding it. One of the rules moving forward, beginning in 2025, is that any new 401k plans will be required to have what is called automatic enrollment, and automatic enrollment at a 3% pre-tax contribution. So every new plan being established, those participants beginning 1/1 of 25 will have to be automatically enrolled, as well as they have to be automatically escalated. So once they get in at 3%, then they have to be automatically increased by 1% every year after that. So that will be a mandatory requirement of new plans moving forward. So again, a lot of the complexities of that.
Well, that's great. It's good you're there to help them through this and take advantage of the government policies that have been put in place, you know, with this. Now we do have a viewer question for you. This one is from Betty Frank, Philadelphia. If you trade in your Roth IRA, should you have any concerns about long and short-term gains as to time and taxes? How would you answer that, Wendy?
Well, thank you, Betty. That is a great question. And we get a lot of questions when it has to do with Roth and pre-tax contributions. And so the answer is possibly. Because you already paid taxes on the money you've contributed to the Roth IRA, you can withdraw your contributions at any time without penalty or tax consequences because, again, you've already paid the taxes on those contributions. However, there are different rules that apply to your investment earnings. To withdraw investment earnings without owing income taxes and a 10% penalty, you have to follow specific distribution rules based on your age and the amount of time that you've held the account. Specifically, if you are under or over age 59 and a half years old, or if you've had the account for less or more than 5 years. So unfortunately, you can see it's not a clear-cut answer as it does depend on age, on how long you've had the account, as well as the reason that you're taking the distribution.
So what I would recommend is, Betty, you make a call to Wendy and get the specifics to your situation answered. Okay, and if you're interested in sending in a question to Money Matters TV, here's how you can do that.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says, Send us your questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, MONEY, -matters, MATTERS, TV.com.
Thank you. Welcome back. We're very pleased now to introduce our guest, Bill Dunkelberg, who's Chief Economist with NFIB, the National Federation of Independent Business. Hello there, Bill.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, doing great. And Bill is coming from, where is it, Cape Coral, Florida?
Cape Coral, yes. Yeah.
Good for you. Nice warm day, I hope, for there, and instead of the Philadelphia weather.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit first. What's NFIB?
Well, NFIB was started back in 1943, which, by the way, was the year I was born. So I just hit 80 last week. And it was started.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's right. You're always happy looking back. So NFIB was founded as a counterforce to the Chamber of Commerce, which was really dominated by the large firms that donated money to run the chamber. NFIB was a little different. It had a small membership fee, but nobody could give it a substantial amount of money. So their board of directors wasn't filled with people who made large contributions to NFIB and set its agenda. So how does it set its agenda? Well, it does. It's got over 300,000 member firms, and it polls the firms to find what about their concerns and how they feel about certain legislation that's coming through, and they use that to lobby politicians, lobby legislatures in 50 state capitals and, of course, Washington, D.C.
Wow. So you must have collected more than a few pennies from each of these to be able to support that type of an operation. But you're talking about small business. So how do you define a small business for NFIB's purposes relative to what you see in the Chamber of Commerce's?
Well, we don't really ask about your size in terms of limiting your membership. If you're a really big firm and you want to join NFIB, you can. You'll just pay the little small membership dues, and your say will be the same as the say that the other 300,000 members have.
Okay, what is the membership fee for joining?
About right, it used to be back in the day, $50, but now it's around $250.
And that'd be an annual fee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we need renewals to keep paying the staff that we're maintaining nationwide in all the state capitals.
Okay.
Now that's I was on the faculty at Stanford in the Graduate School of Business when I started this 50 years ago, and the whole idea was take a random sample of the membership and send them a questionnaire and ask them how they're doing and what they're doing. So what their expectations are, how much hiring they're doing, how about raising prices, all those kinds of things. So we collected that data and put out a monthly report. So we've been doing it now for 50 years, come the October survey.
That's great. And that's something you started 50 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
When you're at Stanford. Yeah, that's great.
That's amazing. And so along those same lines, Bill, I'm anxious to hear in terms of what you're seeing and the feedback is for these small businesses in attracting and retaining employees that are out there today.
Yes, and of course that is a major problem. Until inflation started, the top business problem that they told us they had was finding qualified labor. They just couldn't get them. So we had about 55% of our members tried to hire or hired somebody in February, but 80% of them said they had few or no qualified applicants for the position. Now, I'll just remind you that the small businesses are not like there are some small high-tech firms, but these are restaurants and dime stores and all those kinds of things. And so, what does it take to be qualified to work there? is an interesting issue, which we have studied in some detail.
Yeah, well, I guess if you're down to 3% unemployment, you are having a hard time, finding people who are qualified, even to serve as a cashier at a store. It is difficult. And you mentioned that prior to inflation, the biggest problem was hiring, which seems to me still be a big problem. But is inflation even more difficult on these small businesses?
Well, we have we give them a choice of 10 items to select from to tell us what's their most important problem right now. And so inflation is the top concern. Managing inflation on both sides, coming in the back door, and of course then dealing with wages and raising compensation, and then of course setting prices going out the door. So we've now for the last year or so seen the highest percentage of firms reporting that they raised selling prices since the 1980s. And you may or may not remember the 1980s. I do. Inflation was double digit, 13, 14%. Prime rate was 21%. And Paul Volcker was trying to get inflation wrung out of the economy, and which he succeeded in doing. But of course, he did it using a couple of recessions.
Right.
Well, I remember the 80s and specifically my parents getting a mortgage, and I believe that they were very excited that the interest rate that they got at that time was 14%. So that's what I think about when I think about the 80s.
I got one of those, and of course we refinanced them as fast as we could, but that's what we paid. Hard to believe, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, well, we're inching back into that territory again. We'll see if we can slay the inflation dragon this time.
Yeah, we asked each of our respondents to tell us how much they're paying on their current loans, and we compute the average, and that was a couple of years ago, 4%. But in the February survey, which we just finished processing, it's 8%. So the average rate they're paying, according to what they report, is doubled already, which we knew would happen when the Fed started raising its rates. Having the zero bound was fun for a while. My youngest children got some really good mortgage deals, but those are gone. Rates are up.
My boys bought a house in Austin, Texas 2 years ago with a 2.5% mortgage rate.
That's it. Yeah.
My comment to them is you can never sell this house.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got that free option on that mortgage. You gotta maintain that. Yeah. So are you seeing, is that affecting the growth of these companies because of the higher financing costs? They're not able to expand or hire people, maybe?
Well, higher financing costs are an issue, but not a big one. There are other concerns that are much larger. In order to attract workers, we've had to do many things, including start setting up 401ks. So it's interesting to discuss that topic. Finding workers and getting them to come and getting them to stay has become a real problem. Almost as many firms are raising compensation that are raising prices, and so we do have that whole wage price spiral problem. Those are costs that we have to pass on in the form of higher prices, and now they're about the same percentage raising both of those things. And we can see how you can lower your selling prices, which is what we have to have happen if we want to recover what we've lost from inflation. You can see lowering prices when your energy costs go down and your input costs go down. But how do you get your workers to reduce their wages and help you lower your prices when that environment happens? And unfortunately, historically, what usually happens is, of course, you have to fire workers to reduce your employment costs. and get them to be a little more productive rather than everybody agreeing to a small wage cut.
And I was going to say, Bill, I wanted to ask, what are you seeing? We are entering probably just a few weeks from now, 3 years from when the start of the pandemic happened. What are you seeing from businesses that have either come out of it, are still coming out of it?
Yes, well, we did, and you can access these at nfib.org/research. We did about 15 surveys over the last 2 years, asking all those kinds of questions, and of course, we got some interesting results. Since a lot of the firms at the beginning of the surveys were shut down. If you were not an essential business, you couldn't be in business. That was it. And that, of course, created major problems, which were addressed by the PPP program, which about 90% of our members participated in to get through. But so that happened. But associated with the whole COVID thing was, of course, the supply chain problem. And so that was massive for our people. They reported that, of course, it significantly impacted their revenues. They couldn't get stuff and to sell it, even though they had customers there that wanted to buy it. If you remember, we had 100 big ships sitting outside of the LA ports because they couldn't unload, and then we didn't have enough trucks to distribute it across the country. So one of the main kind of increase from and inflation really came from the supply side, supply shocks, especially when the administration clamped down on oil production and reduced our output by about 3 million barrels a day. We were the biggest producer at the time, now we're not, and that gave us higher energy prices as well. So that's been a real struggle. You can see why people said it's temporary, but because they thought we could solve the supply problem, and that's been happening. The supply chain issues are now going away pretty well. The only big supply chain problem we continue to have is labor. It's very expensive and it's very hard, with 40 to 50% of our people telling us they have a job opening they cannot fill, and then telling us that they can't find any qualified applicants.
So on that front, we've got an illegal immigration problem. We've got actually, I would argue, an immigration problem altogether with the United States. And how is that affecting these businesses? Are they able to hire some of these people that are coming in across the border, or is that just they can't? I mean, what do they do, and how is that affecting them?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, because that certainly, we've had in the last 2 years over 5 million people come across the border, which is bigger than the population of a dozen states. A lot of people have come in, but they're all, well, first of all, half of them are just young males, but in general, they don't have an education. They don't have a mastery of the language. Of course, they have no money, and they don't have a place to live, and they don't have any food. And so right now, we're just busy trying to keep these people in place, and we're putting them in hotels in New York City, which is kind of crazy, but that's what we're doing. So they really, for the most part, don't have the skills. And as you pointed out, the legal immigration, where people ask if they can come, and we look at their skill set and background, that has dropped to the lowest level in decades. So we do need the workers. The question is, can you hire them, communicate with them, train them, and in the meantime, we're going to spend an awful lot of money just taking care of them, because they can't take care of themselves if they can't get a job, and that's a real issue.
I guess, Bill, in hearing all this, it's interesting, and I think, to me, fascinating. I'm going to go to your website to look at some of these surveys. I guess my next question is that you're getting back what a lot of these small businesses top, issues are. Do you survey or do you get feedback for some of the firms maybe who have been successful in hiring, new employees, retaining new employees? Are there any tips that we can give to small business owners of what you're seeing out there for those successful firms who are making it through?
Well, the general strategy is you're probably not surprised is offering more money. That's why the percent raising wages is the highest in our 50-year history. That will pay, but they also try all kinds of things around the margin, including the 401k, but also other kinds of benefits. Their health benefits are important. So they're trying to figure a lot of ways to sweeten the pot and make it more attractive to get somebody, because they're competing with, very big firms that offer those kinds of deals as a matter of course. So yeah, it's happening. I mean, we hire some and we lose some. Unfortunately, for the last year or so, far more firms have seen their employment shrink because they can't hire, than see their employment levels increase because they are successful with hiring.
Is there any legal way to hire the illegals?
Yes, they do ultimately get work permits. So you can hire them, and so you have to find them, of course. But where are they? Well, they're not spread nicely across the United States yet, although the government's flying them everywhere, and that may solve the problem.
We're busing them into the different cities now.
Exactly.
Starting to distribute.
So,
right.
so that may help things. So they do get work permits. They get money. They get a cell phone. They get the kinds of things that are provided by the helpful agencies that look after all these people when they come in. But it's a massive job, and so communicating with them about how to find a job and where to work and how to, interview and do all those things, that's a real challenge.
Is that a challenge that you can help with, NFIB?
Well, that would be up to the individual firms. They, of course, are desperate to get workers, and they'll do whatever they can to help them. So, we'll be doing that out there. But Congress would, have to do the bigger scale kind of stuff, and right now they're not dealing with the southern border problem, and of course the southern border towns and the businesses there can't absorb all those workers, even if they can find some qualified ones in the bunches that are coming in.
Well, I really appreciate, Bill, your time here. Unfortunately, we're coming to the end here, and Wendy, thank you very much as well for your help with today's show. Our next guest on Money Matters TV is Jean DePasquale, who's resident of Keystone Center for Charter Change. Thank you for watching Money Matters, where your money matters. See you next time.